Hello, everyone. This is Eli Cook, missionary to Slovenia. And we had an idea given to us by a church member about documenting our journey on a weekly basis. And we wanted to do it for you all so you can dive deeper into our lives and see us on a daily and weekly basis as we recap our weeks for you. But also we want to do it for our children, as our children are very young, 3 and 1.5, and they won't remember our deputation journey, but we want them to see what God has done through our deputation journey, even when we are on the field of Slovenia. So that's what we're going to start doing. Just little weekly videos just to show you guys. They'll be on our YouTube channel that we have created, and so I ask you to go subscribe to that. That'd be a huge blessing to us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. But I want to recap last week for you. We actually got to be on our home church, Liberty Baptist Church of Lewisville, Texas, and we got to be a part of their missions conference. And we served on staff at Liberty for 3.5 years. We moved there in August of 2020. Then God began moving in our hearts to go to Slovenia, and we started that process at the beginning of this year. And so 3.5 years there, and we went through 3 missions conferences there. So it was cool to see the other side of missions conference, of being a missionary as a staff member, and then also as a missionary. And so we absolutely had a great time being in our home church. It was a blessing to be with Pastor Stephen and Miss Melissa again. As you know, it's always fun when we get to reunite and hang out together. But we also were with 2 other church planners. That we were with the Yap family, who's planning a church in Hawthorne, California, there in the LA area, with a great need for them. And we were with the Moore family that's planning a church in Bryan College Station, Texas, which is a very needy area as well, even being in Texas. And it was so great to be with both of these families. And just to recap the conference for you, Pastor had me preach Sunday morning, and I wanted to get our attention to the grace of God so we can look at missions, but let's get focused on God first and look at His grace. And then Brother Robbie Yap came along, and he preached about sacrifice and how, sharing the gospel and living for Christ, He does ask us to sacrifice. And then Brother Jonathan Moore come along, and he preached on surrender and being a disciple that Monday night. And, we have to surrender all to Christ and really to be His disciples. He shows us through the Gospels. And then Pastor had me preach again on Tuesday night, and I preached out of Nehemiah, where Nehemiah says, arise and build. He said, we the servants will rise and build. And it was just amazing to see how God worked through that. Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah really helped me in following and obeying God in our call to Slovenia. And so I wanted to preach that about how Nehemiah rose and built the walls of Jerusalem. I applied that to rising, building disciples for Christ. And then Brother Robbie Yap closed us out on Wednesday night with the coming judgment. There's coming judgment for those that are without Christ. And he said, this is why we must be sharing the gospel, as there's coming judgment for those. And so it was a blessing. Oh, what a blessing to be at our home church, and just loved every minute of being home and being able to just see our friends, our dearest friends we have there. Get to see in the youth group that God allowed us to lead there. And it was just amazing. And we are so thankful to be able to go home. Thankful that our home church is doing a gospel work there in the DFW area. And then we jumped in our car. That's where we live. Most of the part, we jumped in our car and drove 5 hours west to Lubbock, Texas. Yes, Red Raider Nation out here. Being a WVU fan, I don't have anything against Texas Tech, but we do play them every season. So we come out here. We came to Bethany Baptist Church in Lubbock, Texas, with Pastor Dan Preston. And here's the thing is, there's so much history with me and Brother Dan's. Great history, because he actually served at Liberty Baptist Church as the youth pastor about 25 years ago. Now, I served there 25 years later before God called us to the mission field. So it was great to be with Brother Dan and Miss Lisa Preston, and we know a lot of their family, and we were great friends with a lot of their family. So it's good to be with them on Sunday at Bethany Baptist. His dad was actually in town, so he preached Sunday morning about why I love God. And I hope you know the reason why you love God. There's so many reasons. If we begin listing out the reasons why we love God, it could take us all day. And then Brother Dan had me preach that night, and I preached about how we're witnesses of Christ out of Acts 3, and how Peter and John were witnesses to the lame man, and then the lame man's changed life, drew a crowd, and Peter was a witness to those people in the crowd about sharing. He shared the gospel with them. That's what being a witness is. And we got to see some of our dearest friends. One of my best friends, one of Mackenzie's best friends, Zach and Carissa Carper, they were actually in town. God worked it out. We didn't know until like a month ago that we were all going to be in town. We all went to college together. Mackenzie and I actually set Zach and Carissa up. They walked down the aisle together at our wedding. So it was awesome to be with them. We got to see them last month and to see them again this month. It was just a blessing that God worked out for us to be able to see them. And it was just a blessing to be at Bethany. They were having a youth auction with desserts. We ended up spending a lot of money on dessert, but they raised a ton of money for their youth. And it was just a blessing to be able to be with Bethany Baptist Church this past week. And I want to finish just with a thought. And it's not going to be very long videos for you as we start these weekly updates. But I want to share a thought out of Matthew 28, 18 and 20. You know, this the Great Commission. Jesus says, all power is given unto me. And if you look down through that verse, he talks about we shall be his disciples. And I just want to share with you a word of encouragement that you can be a disciple, or you can be a witness for Christ. You can share the gospel. We know we should, but here's the thing. We get in our own heads sometimes and we get nervous and we think that we can't do it. And you're absolutely right. We can't do it without Christ. But look at the beginning of verse 18. He says, all power is given unto me. And then he says, you should be witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, and Samaria, and in the uttermost parts of the world. You can make a difference with the gospel of Christ. You can do that. You can make a difference at home. You can make a difference not far from home. You can make a difference on an international level for the gospel of Christ. And so I want to encourage you with that today. You can be a witness of Jesus Christ. We're all witnesses, just whether we're good ones or bad ones. And so I want to encourage you with that. But join us again next week. We got a whole week of going to churches, and I actually have a very special update for you that I'll tell you next week that we're getting to do this week. But join us again next week. And as I said earlier, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a blessed day.